the weaponization of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Get out your sake and watch the program, part number 4. Now we're going to be 10 years after the bombing of Hiroshima. And this is a television program called This Is Your Life. And I believe it's around August 1955. So it would be very close to 10 years after Enola Gay made a visit to Hiroshima. So let's join them and hear what they have to say.
Bob Warren. I've been briefing Reverend Tanimoto on the show here. He's a little surprised. Now, Reverend Tanimoto, are you ready to turn the pages in this book and share with us your experiences? All right, then. August 6, 1945. Hiroshima, Japan. This is your life, Kiyoshi Tanimoto. Is perfectly clear, and as the warm summer sun rises above the mountains which run around 3 sides of the city, it awakens a sprawling community of 245,000 people. The time is 6 a.m. Now, what were you doing at 6 a.m., Reverend Tanimoto?
Well, I wake up and I was trying to evacuate some belongings of my church into country.
I see.
Yes.
To another friend's house?
Yes.
Were you expecting a bomb attack?
Yes, we thought something special would be given to us. Up until that time, we had no bombing at all. Even though other cities are already bombed.
Yes, so at 6 in the morning, you're lending a helping hand to a member of your parish when suddenly the piercing blast of the air raid siren goes off. Did you run for cover? Not when the siren blew, did you? You were used to that. Every morning it went off, didn't it? As I understand, there were U.S. Army reconnaissance planes.
Now, don't you love how the TV show host answers the questions and leads them along, basically, to run the show correctly?
Planes flying overhead most of the time. And so this was taken for granted, this air raid siren. This might happen even today in any typical American community. The sound of an air raid siren,
Or
even at 6 in the morning, is not taken too seriously.
Or a fire truck siren.
At 0600 on the morning of August the 6th, 1945, I was in a B-29 flying over the Pacific. Destination, Hiroshima.
A voice and a man whose life is destined to be woven up in the threads of your own, Reverend Tanimoto. Now, we'll meet him later on in our story. Right now, it's after 8. You pause to rest for a moment in the garden of Mr. Matsui's house. That was the friend who was helping you carry your belongings. Looking out, you can see Hiroshima lying ahead of you. You could be looking at Buffalo, New York, Boston, Massachusetts, St. Louis, Missouri, Seattle, Washington. But this is Hiroshima, Japan. The morning is quiet, very peaceful.
Look out for the mushroom!
Time has come, that split second of eternity which comes in one way or another to every man in his lifetime. What did you do when you heard that bomb?
Well, I didn't hear any sound, but I saw a strange flash running through mid-air. And took a couple of steps into the garden and lied on the ground. And I felt strong blast of wind. And then I wake up and got up and saw many houses.
Hold on. What did he say? What did he say? You caught it. He said, I wake up. No, I got up. In other words, it was a dream. You're dreaming, kid. They're projecting dreams as reality. He did a lot of homework on Freud because they know that the human mind likes dreams. That's what Walter Lippmann says in his book, Public Opinion. Basically, the mind loves movies. The mind loves dreams. And it's filled with pictures. So that book was from 1922, called Public Opinion, and I did a PowerPoint presentation on it on 2 of my channels. But anyhow, he woke up. No, he got up. I think he had it right the first time. What do you think?
This is behind me, Disco.
You were between 2 rocks,
Yeah.
more or less, weren't you? And as the terrible pressure from the concussion throbbed through your head and bits of board and tile from Mr. Matsui's house fell on you, your mind must have lived through a lifetime, back to days when the peaceful sound of temple bells called the faithful Buddhist to prayer. Back to June 27th, 1909, and your birth in Shikoku, not too far from Hiroshima. You're the youngest of 8 children, and your father proudly goes to the town hall and registers your birth and inheritance. And you go through grammar school and are a bright young scholar, faithful to the religious teachings of your father. But then something happens that is to change and help shape your whole life.
Kiyoshi decided that he wanted to enter theological school and become a Christian minister.
Well, now that voice belongs to somebody who was very dear to you in your youth. I want you to look at our archway here, Reverend Tanimoto, because coming through it is Miss Bertha Starkey of Warrensville, Ohio. Here's Miss Starkey. Miss Starkey, I know it's a wonderful meeting here. When did you first meet Mr. Tanimoto?
After he graduated from high school, he came to Korea to visit his older brother. I was a Methodist missionary in Seoul at that time. And when he decided that he wanted to enter theological school, he came to me for advice.
Yes. Did you have your family's permission to do this, Mr. Tanimoto?
My father was a strong Buddhist believer and opposed my Christian faith.
And your mother?
Mother didn't know what Christianity was, but permitted me to go to a Christian church.
It was her death that convinced you to become a minister.
Yeah, that's right.
Kiyoshi enrolled at a Methodist theological school in Japan, didn't he, Miss Starkey?
Yes, he did. And when he finally told his father what he had done, his father was so furious that he went to the town hall, struck Kiyoshi's name from the family register, thus publicly declaring him no longer a member of the family.
Oh, Mr. Tanimoto calls you Mama Starkey, I believe. Isn't that right, Reverend Tanimoto?
Yes, he does. Disowned by his father and estranged from his family, and
of course, his mother passed on.
with no
too.
mother, he asked me to be his parent. I was so proud and so glad to do so. And then later on, I was proud too to introduce him to the girl who was someday to become his wife.
Well, thank you, Miss Bertha Starkey. You see Mama later on. Big surprise, yes. This is 1937 now. You graduate from theological school with the highest honors. Your father returns the graduation invitation with a note saying, I do not know this person. And in Japan, the seeds of war are being scattered into Manchuria, into China. The military power is rising. But no thoughts of war are in your mind as you're appointed to the ministry. Did you get a parish right away, Reverend?
Yes, I
Tanimoto?
got a church in Kagoshima area, southern part of Japan, and served there for 3 years.
Yes. But the bishop thought you should continue your education in America.
Well, that's
didn't he?
right, yeah.
And with the help of Miss Starkey and others, you receive a scholarship to the Candler School of Theology, Emory University in Atlanta, Georgia. And just before you leave, one of your sisters arranges a reconciliation with your father. So with a great weight lifted from your mind, you depart for America.
And in America, American slang was a problem to Kyosho particularly the expression, "bats in your belfry."
Well, we'll have to hear more about this bats in the belfry. Do you recognize that voice, Reverend Tanimoto?
Yes, I do.
It belongs to one of your best friends whom you haven't seen in several years, a fellow student with you at Emory University and now pastor of the Springfield Methodist Church, Springfield, New Jersey, Dr. Marvin Green. And here is Dr. Green. What's this about bats in the belfry, Dr.
Well, at
Green?
Emory University, the boys used to tease him a great deal about the American slang phrases, and they told him that if he would tell girls that they had bats in their belfry, it was very pleasing to them and very, very exciting. And so one time, crossing a bridge, some girls were coming along, and Tanimoto went up to one of them at our encouragement and said, "Have you got bats in your belfry?" And it almost created an international incident.
So, I got the wonderful education.
What kind of an education? Was Reverend Tanimoto a good student, Dr.
Very
Green?
good. He gave himself very thoroughly, all of the hours he had there, to his theological studies, to preaching in the churches, to speaking in youth groups, and in every way he was preparing himself for the ministry.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Marvin Green. Your paths are destined to cross again, as we shall see later on. Thank you, very much. 1940, you graduate from Emory University, an ordained Methodist minister, and are assigned to a church right here in Hollywood, not too far from where you're sitting right now. What church was it, Reverend Tanimoto?
Independent.
Oh! 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 Now, this is the first time I'm watching this thing, so you're experiencing it with me for the first time, and there's your clue. He was assigned a church in Hollywood. I have nailed some of the so-called preachers in the Hollywood area. You see my channel, Who is Who in Hoaxology. There's your clue, people. Coincidentally, he was assigned a church in Hollywood. Now remember, this video is about Hiroshima and an atomic bomb. The preacher from Hollywood will end up in Hiroshima. Gee, I'm not suspicious of anything. Are you? Well, let's go on. This is getting good. I was a little worried you were going to leave me there. Say, oh, this is boring.
Church.
Yes, a Japanese-American church. You preached there for 3.5 months and are loved by your congregation. Now, we told you, Reverend Tanimoto, we had some pleasant moments for you. Would you come with me, sir, just for a moment? I want you to look into the faces of these people right out here. Now, do you recognize any of them there? They're members of the Hollywood Independent Congregation who came here tonight just to see you again. There they are.
Probably they are Japanese-American actors and actresses that have been appearing in lots of movies, of which you can't identify because they're extras. Japanese-American church in Hollywood, and the man who's present at the bombing of Hiroshima by the Officer Tibbets in the Enola Gay. You'll
have a chance to reminisce with them after the show at a party Hazel Bishop has arranged in your honor at the Hollywood Roosevelt Hotel, where all our out-of-town guests have been staying. December 7th, 1941. Our world is at war. Now, where were you on that December 7th, Reverend Tanimoto? Yes, at Pearl Harbor time.
Yes,
Oh.
Pearl Harbor.
I was in Okinawa.
Yes.
Okinawa.
Yes, I was preaching there.
Preaching in
As
Okinawa.
a minister, yes.
Sir?
As a minister of Methodist Church there.
And you remain on Okinawa for several years, and are then 2 years, and are then transferred to a church in Hiroshima,
That's right.
where we started your story on August 6, 1945. Now, because of the nature of our This Is Your Life program tonight, our wonderful sponsor, Hazel Bishop, has asked that we
isn't that
omit
nice?
our commercial at this time,
that
so
nice?
we'll not interrupt our story, and we're very grateful to our wonderful sponsor for this thoughtful gesture. Now back to This Is Your Life, Reverend Kiyoshi Tanimoto, in Hiroshima, August 6, 1945. Standing still as our Earth shakes to an explosion never before equaled. In a daze, you pull yourself from your position between the two garden rocks. From your vantage point, you again look out over the city, and you started to tell us what you saw. What did you see?
Well, I saw the whole city on fire. And many people running away from the city in silence. Their skin peeling off, hanging from face, from arm, but strange to say, in silence, it looked like a procession of ghosts.
Did you know that
So he's just sort of making gibberish up because he knows it has to sound horrific. Skin hanging off. They look like ghosts. But the whole city's on fire. How can he see them if the whole city's on fire?
Hiroshima had been the first city to feel the force of atomic power?
Well, I didn't know.
Hold on. Now you understand he just said to feel the force of atomic power. I hope you heard that. He didn't say atomic bomb. Why? Because the year of this is 1955, and they have to get out of the bomb mode into the, it's useful mode. Because now they're going to sell the hoaxes of atomic power plants. Atomic power plants are a hoax, and the so-called explosion of them are a hoax. 3 Mile Island was a hoax. Came out at the same time as the movie China Syndrome. In fact, I watched a special. I forget if it was on 3 Mile Island or China Syndrome, but it's on 3 Mile Island. And they literally said in the special, the script for China Syndrome became the script for 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile Island was a nuclear plant outside of Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, in that area, that supposedly was going to melt down. Nonsense. So he said atomic power. He didn't say atomic bomb. So we're trying to move away from now we are the destroyers of the Japanese Army and the Navy and all their forces to we are the gentle, wonderful people with atomic power. Now all atomic stuff is a hoax. All. I don't care what you tell me it is. I'll tell you it's a hoax and I'll try to explain it to you.
Happened.
But as your mind clears, you think of your wife and baby, your church, your parishioners, all somewhere in the enveloping dust. You start to run toward the city saying, "My God, help them."
And looking down from thousands of feet over Hiroshima, all I could think of was, my God, what have we done?
The voice again of a man whose second of eternity was woven up with...
Okay, so just try to imagine this stupid scenario. The bomb is dropped, supposedly 120,000 die in Hiroshima. And the man who dropped the bomb is now going to shake hands with a Japanese man who was on the ground when it happened. Come on. Where's your head? trying to make everything wonderful. No, listen, what they're trying to do is smooth things over so the culture or the industry of Japan can flow into the industry of the United States. And pretty soon, after this show, in the early 60s, the Japanese will develop transistors and electronics far superior to the United States. So how do we go from a land that dropped this terrible bomb to now a land that buys products from Japan and loves their products? It's because of shows like this. The war was a hoax. So they've got to undo the hoax so other things can occur, like, oh, now it's the atomic age. And you've got something wonderful, atomic power. So they're trying to sell the idea of atomic power, not atomic bombs.
Yours, Reverend Tanimoto. Now, you've never met him, have never seen him, but he's here tonight to clasp your hand in friendship. Captain Robert Lewis,
sweet?
United States Air Force,
Isn't
who
that
along with
sweet?
Paul Tibbets piloted the plane from which the first atomic power was dropped over Hiroshima.
You said it again. The atomic power was dropped, not the atomic bomb. Why? Because now we want everybody to love atomic this, atomic that. Atomic nonsense. Atoms are nonsense. Tried to explain that in other videos.
Captain Lewis, come in here close, and would you tell us, sir, of your experience on August 6, 1945?
Well, Mr. Edwards, we left Tinian in the Mariana Islands at about 2:45 in the morning on August the 6th, 1945. Our destination was Japan.
Now, I'm not sure who the actor is, and maybe someday I will nail the actor. But you're looking at an actor. 'Cause that's always what it is. Actors playing roles for the camera. They're the so-called pilot and the crew of Enola Gay were nothing but actors. And most likely, hear me out, there never was a flight of an Enola Gay to Hiroshima. And there never was anything dropped at all. Because it was all done in Hollywood studio, way up by the Hollywood sign up there, Lookout Mountain. There's a studio up there that could put to shame any of the studios down in Hollywood with special effects. And all the crap you'll see about Hiroshima and the terrible destruction, it's just special effects. Basically speaking, to quote Dave J., nobody died, nobody got hurt. And I'll add another Dave J. Nothing happened on August the 6th, 1945, in a location called Hiroshima.
We had 3 targets. One was Hiroshima, one was Nagasaki, one was Kokura. About an hour before we hit the coastline of Japan, we were notified that Hiroshima was clear. Therefore, Hiroshima became our target. Just before 8:15 a.m. Tokyo time, Tom Farabee, a very able bombardier, carefully aimed at his target, which was the 2nd Imperial Japanese Army headquarters. 8:15 promptly, the bomb was dropped. We turned fast to get out of the way of the deadly radiation and bomb effects. First was a big flash that we got, and then the 2 concussion waves hit the ship. Shortly after, we turned back to see what had happened. And there in front of our eyes, the city of Hiroshima disappeared.
Now, you entered something in your log at that.
Hold on just a minute. The city of Hiroshima disappeared? In a few days, they're going to be over there with all their jeeps. waltzing around trying to measure the effects of this and that. Did you hear? He slipped up. He said the city disappeared. Did you hear it? Are you listening? And are you using logic? So he just stated the city disappeared.
Time. As I said before, Mr. Edwards, I wrote down later. My God, what have we done?
And so, Reverend Tanimoto, you on the ground and you on your military mission, Captain Lewis, in the air, both appeal to a power greater than your own. Thank you, Captain Robert Lewis, now personnel manager of Henry Heidi Incorporated in New York City.
So isn't that a wonderful reconciliation? They both appealed to a power not their own. What? Supposedly the destruction of an atomic bomb and supposedly the power of God himself. And they got a chance to shake hands. They're trying to reconcile United States with Japan. They're trying to reconcile all the nonsense and lies of the war and try to make Americans feel okay by what happened or didn't happen, and then to move on, because as I said, just off in the distance, Japan is going to outdo the US in electronics. And I will also add this too. And as time goes on, in automobiles and efficiency and so forth, Japanese motors and so forth. So anyhow, this show is about trying to make peace in the minds of people, but trying to reinforce the lie of an atomic explosion that killed 120,000 on Hiroshima, and also now is great. So we went from being terrible, destructive, to now it's so great because it's atomic power, not atomic bombs.
In that split second when one atom bomb was exploded, 100,000 people were either killed.
Okay, now those photos you saw were all fake photos that came out of that shop up in Hollywood by the Hollywood sign. Lookout Mountain studio. It was a highly classified area, and it was the place at which they filmed the actual bombing, and they filmed all this nonsense and those goofy shots of everything's wiped out. There shouldn't have been anything shown, by the way. If you'd have listened to the Captain Tibbets, the whole city disappeared.
Or destined to die. 100,000 more were hurt. Were you hurt, Reverend Tanimoto?
Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, I wasn't hurt. I'm an actor. Don't you remember? Don't you remember where my first church was? Right in Hollywood. Why would I have been hurt? Oh no, everybody around me's hurt. Everybody around me's incinerated. The whole city's obliterated. But I'm just fine.
But as you run along the highway into the city in search of your wife and baby, you're stunned by the human destruction which you see. Now, you've told us pretty much about this, Reverend Tanimoto. You've told us about what you saw. Fires have sprung up everywhere. Your way into the city is blocked. You keep running, trying to get to your home, your church. You apologize to people along the way because you are unhurt.
主人と私があんなところで会えたことは幸いでした。
Yes, Reverend Tanimoto, it's true. From your home in Hiroshima, which you just left to surprise you, even as she did on August 6th, is your wife, Chisaka Tanimoto. Here she is. Sit there by your husband. Let it go. Mrs. Tanimoto, I think we really surprised your husband. Where were you when the bomb fell?
爆弾が落ちた時私は高校在って家の下敷きになりました。
What did your wife say, Reverend Tanimoto?
I forgot. I was there under the debris,
Yes.
holding my baby Coco, in my...
So if she doesn't speak English, how did she know what the question was? Okay, because he asked the question in English and she replied in Japanese. Or is she just another one of those Japanese actors and actresses that probably were in that congregation where the Reverend served his first church in Hollywood?
Arms.
Yes, though completely dazed, you're able to extricate yourself, Mrs. Tanimoto, and you make your way through the streets until by a miracle you bump right into your husband. Now, Reverend Tanimoto, there followed...
Now isn't that something? They just bump into each other. A miracle! That's what's wrong with so many of these goofy tragedy stories. They'll tell you how miraculous something is, and you don't even get a chance to think about it. It's not miraculous, it's idiotic.
Days and nights of help and ministration to the wounded. You carry on, you comfort, you bring water to the thirsty, unable to move. You run for whatever medical help you can get. More often than not, unable to find it, you bring back rice cakes and biscuits instead. It's a week before news begins to leak out from official Japanese headquarters that the city had been destroyed by the energy released by the splitting of an atom. And then, Nagasaki.
So it's been destroyed. Officer Tibbets, or not officer, Colonel Tibbets told us it was obliterated, it was abolished, it was annihilated. Don't worry, they're going to get there shortly thereafter to do some more filming. I'm going to keep going. If you don't want to watch, you can hang up or go somewhere else. But I'm on a roll, so I'm going to make this a long video. This is your lie. That's what I'm calling it. This is your lie.
Nagasaki feels the terror of the second bomb. And on August 15th, the Emperor of Japan broadcast to the nation that the war is over. And out of the carnage that was Hiroshima at 8:15 a.m. on August 6, 1945, the Japanese people have built a new city. But 10 years later, all is not forgotten. There's still very visible signs of that terrible day, which stand as living reminders of what atomic power can do. Dr. Green, you had something to say to us about this.
Tanimoto decided to do something about that, Mr. Edwards. Organize some help for these girls who had been students together and whose bodies had been badly disfigured, and he felt that to bring them to the United States was where they could get plastic surgery and help them alleviate some of their suffering.
Yes.
Okay, now you're looking at some beauties. Gonna put on some prosthetics, some appliances on their face to pretend to get plastic surgery. This is 10 years later. Why wouldn't they do it right away? You know why? Because they're going to raise some money. Huge amounts of money come in after fake disasters, such as the Johnstown flood. Millions came in. People thinking that people lost their lives and homes in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. And it was all a hoax too. It was probably one of the first major disaster hoaxing in the United States. But you watch and see now. They're going to win your heart because we're so good to these folks that we wanted rid of, supposedly. Now, you understand, I'm talking as if it was real, R-E-A-L. So the American people wanted it, and now supposedly the American people don't like what they did, so we're going to have plastic surgery for these beautiful ladies. And why just ladies? Why? Why not old men? Why not young children? Because ladies are photogenic. It doesn't sound that great take an old man and give him plastic surgery.
Isn't it true, Dr. Green, that much medical research is being done by our own government as well as the Japanese government at Hiroshima?
Yes, that's quite true, but that research has taken the direction of diagnosis rather than of actual treatment to bring about recovery.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Green. So with the help of a committee composed of such people as Norman Cousins, John Hersey, Pearl Buck, Dr. Green here and others, the Hiroshima Peace Center Associates is formed. What is its purpose, Reverend Tanimoto?
To help social rehabilitation of Hiroshima.
I see. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Monday, May 9th, 25 girls from Hiroshima arrived in New York City via U.S. Army transport. They're being treated surgically at Mount Sinai Hospital at absolutely no cost. Tonight, we would like you to meet two of these girls. Both have lived through the terror of an atomic bombing. To avoid causing them any embarrassment, we'll not show you their faces. May I present Miss Takoya Minowa and Miss Tadaka Emori.
私たちはアメリカに来ることができ本当に幸せです。そして皆様が私たちにしてくださることを感謝しています。
They said they're happy to be in America.
Yes.
Thank the United States for what they're doing now for them. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have more to say about this important project in the next few moments. I know that you want to relax for just a moment. Mr. Tanimoto, one more joyful surprise for you. Your children, Coco, Ken, Jun, and Shin, and here they are.
Gee, that's a big surprise. Bring out his children,
Hiroshima. Come on, Ken, Jun, and Shin. This is your life, Kiyoshi Tanimoto, a man of God who looked into the face of eternity in that awful moment when the world stood still, and who is now courageously building a monument to peace out of the ashes of Hiroshima. In a moment, Reverend Tanimoto, we'll look into your future, which you, ladies and gentlemen, can share. But first, here's Bob Warren.
You know, it's amazing how many of you write in to tell us you don't talk enough about Hazel Bishop nail polish. Well, tonight, I want you to meet one of our enthusiastic Hazel Bishop users, Mrs. Arthur Johnston of St. Louis, Missouri. Hi, Mrs. Johnson.
Hello, Mr. Warren.
Mrs. Johnston, would you mind telling us your experience with Hazel Bishop nail polish in your own words?
Well, it's just like I told you in my letter. My nails take a terrific beating. My hands are always in hot, soapy water. And I do a lot of typing, too. Well, I've just about given up wearing all polishes because I put them on one day and they would start to chip the next. Then a friend told me about Hazel Bishop. I just can't stop raving about it. Look, my Hazel Bishop polish has been on for almost 7 days, and there's not a chip anywhere. I just love it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Johnston. Now, ladies, tonight or tomorrow, you treat yourself to Hazel Bishop long-lasting nail polish.
It's interesting with advertising how for so long advertising was based on logic and reason. Then eventually it just got to the idea of forget logic and reason, appeal to the subconscious, and appeal to the dreamlike state of people. And that ties into what I was saying about the book, Public Opinion, 1922, and the whole idea that our minds are just filled with pictures. Our minds are just filled with images. And we love pictures and we love images. And that's how we tend to operate and how we tend to think in terms of these pictures. So advertising shifted from everything being really logical, and it's so logical you should make the conclusion and use this, to then it gets kind of wacky and fantasy-like. But it hasn't yet entered into that because the year is 1955.
Right, thank you very much. Reverend Tanimoto, this is Coco.
Shin,
Shin, Ken, Jun. Look so the American children can see our wonderful visitors from Hiroshima. Hazel Bishop is presenting you with a 16-millimeter film of this program and a 16-millimeter Bell & Howell sound projector so that you can play it on back in Japan. And also this 16-millimeter Bell & Howell movie camera, you see. And for Mrs. Tanimoto, Hazel Bishop has asked Marshall Jewelers in New York to design this 14-karat gold charm bracelet that we have for you. The jewels of happy moments in your life there, too. Reverend Tanimoto, we know how we have cufflinks for you here, too, sir. We know how hard you've worked to make it possible for these 25 girls to come to the United States for medical aid. And we know, too, that there are many, many more people in Hiroshima and Nagasaki who were children back in 1945 and who are reaching maturity now and who will never know a normal, happy life without immediate medical and surgical help. Now, we're sure that there are many among our viewers tonight who will want to share in Reverend Tanimoto's dedicated life. Now, you can do so by sending your contributions right now, large or small, to Maidens, Box 200, New York 1, New York.
Okay, I have no idea how much money they raised. No idea. But I will tell you this. Based on all my other videos and research, it would have been an enormous sum for that day. This is kind of the highlight for the hoaxers, because they will make money off the hoaxes. They will make money off the hoaxes. So anybody that sent money to that address, it just went to hoaxers and liars.
Now, you'll be making it possible for teams of American and Japanese doctors to work together on the spot to provide necessary treatment.
Mr. Edwards, on behalf of the entire crew that participated in that mission, my company, and my lovely family, I'd like to make the first contribution.
Thank you, Captain Lewis, very much. And on behalf of our... Here, you better hold the money for a while. On behalf of our wonderful sponsors, Hazel Bishop and Prel Shampoo. Gee, I better say shampoo right, you know. They're the sponsors, Prel Shampoo. May I present you with these two checks for $500 each from Hazel Bishop and from Prel Shampoo. Twice so much. Thank you, Captain Lewis, very much. I know that our audience will be just as generous as you are, for this is the American way. The address again, Maidens, Box 200, New York 1, New York.
I'd like to correct a mistake I made. I was saying Captain Tibbets, but it's on this particular, they're focusing on Lewis, not Tibbets, so I made a mistake.
We'll give you all a report next week. This is your life, Kiyoshi Tanimoto. May God grant you and your family and all of us a world in which we and our children can live in eternal peace.
Friends, I know that you're greatly moved by hearing about the efforts being made for these young women, and I'm sure that many of you will be eager to help them regain the beauty that might have been lost.
I'm sure they will, Bob. And if you'll accept a change of mood now, I'd like to tell you a bit about wonderful extra-rich liquid Prel shampoo. That's the thrilling new companion to Prel in the tube.
Of course, you know, Pat, that new liquid Prel is the only liquid shampoo that's extra rich, with radiant beauty in every drop. Liquid Prel's wonderful new extra-rich formula makes a richer, more effective lather.
Well, I guess that's why it leaves my hair looking so radiantly alive, really shining, more than I ever dreamed it could.
May I say, your hair is just about the loveliest it's possible to be. It's radiant and really shines, and yet every wave is in place. There are no wisps and no scolding locks.
I notice your hair always looks so well groomed.
Oh, that's Prel again. Pat, right here. It's great in the handy tube.
Well, we both love Prel.
Why don't you get Procter & Gamble's new extra-rich liquid Prel, friends? It's the radiant shampoo for that radiantly alive look.
Right you are. Don't forget to send in your contributions, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we'll be looking forward to seeing you again next week, when This Is Your Life brings you the story that deals with the subject uppermost in most of our minds today. I know you won't want to miss it. See you then. Good night. Good night, Coco. Wait.
Our guests all fly into Hollywood by TWA, Trans World Airlines, who now fly the newest and most luxurious airplane in the skies. Fly the finest. Fly TWA Super G Constellation. This is Your Life as a Ralph Edwards.
This is your life. You have been watching the weaponization of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This concludes the video. Thank you for watching.